Hello and welcome to Cats Week. I'm Annalise Poorman. Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton reported 2 new positive COVID-19 cases among city employees at the April 9th coronavirus press conference. He expressed concern over Indiana's rising COVID-19 numbers.
I think starting this week, it's just important to say we really see signs of concern. We try to lay out what we see going on, and right now we're not getting better. We are indeed backsliding measurably on progress against this pandemic. I have to say it's almost like we've seen this movie and we've seen some of the same mistakes before. I don't believe we should be loosening and relaxing at the state level while we're in this race between vaccines and variants. And right now, the race is not going as we want it.
Indiana University Assistant Vice President for Strategic Partnerships, Kirk White, emphasized how important it is that Hoosiers who make new vaccine appointments cancel their original. He said this will reduce the amount of wasted vaccines.
One very important point here is what we're seeing is as more vaccine sites and appointments are available, people may find a new one, perhaps at our location or another location, and they do not cancel their old appointment. And so what that's causing is uneven supplies. We may prepare more than we need for a particular block of time through the pharmacy process with the liquid vaccine as it comes. So I want to encourage everybody, if you want to change your appointment, get on the phone, call 211 and get a hold of a representative that can pull up your record and change your appointment, cancel your old one if you've got another one made. This will help the whole system and the various suppliers around the state.
Monroe County Health Administrator Penny Caudill said the health department will share statistics on COVID-19 variants in Monroe County when they receive that information from the state. The Bloomington Plan Commission discussed turning a downtown hotel into apartments. At the April 12th meeting, zoning and long-range planner Keegan Gulick petitioned for the conversion of the Wingate and Wyndham Hotel into an apartment complex. He said all 85 hotel rooms would be converted into individual apartments. Architect Gene Goldstein clarified that the apartments would be smaller than one-bedroom apartments.
Earlier, it was described as a one-bedroom unit, but it's not. It's basically a studio unit, micro unit, studio unit, okay. And we're keeping the bathroom where it's at. We're keeping, whether it's a queen, double, whatever the renter wants to put in. We're putting in typically a 4 to 6 foot long kitchenette with a sink, some very, very minor appliances that we can make work with the existing electrical capacity of the building. New flooring, new paint, new whatever it may be. Great. And that's what we're doing.
Commissioner Beth Kate asked for the planned cost of rent. Goldstein was not sure, but believed they would be market rate.
I'm going to shoot from my hip because it's really not there's a big team that puts these together, and that's really not my thing, but I've heard the word market rate out most of the time. I think they will not be high-end rents at all. They'll be more towards the lower end because the amount of remodeling that's being done is not, we're going to redo all the flooring and carpeting and kitchenettes and the things I mentioned. So they try to keep their costs down. We're not changing out the entire mechanical or electrical or plumbing systems if we can help it. So it's market rate.
Reporter Dave Askins asked how long the conversion would take. Goldstein responded that the project would take 60 to 90 days. The Plan Commission unanimously approved the petition. The Ellettsville Town Council discussed changes to a handful of Ellettsville roads at their April 12th meeting. Town Attorney Darla Brown presented an ordinance that would turn 2 roads into through streets.
This amends the traffic schedule to make Abigail Lane a through street with the stop street at Jackie Court, or stop streets at Jackie Court, Nicholas Lane, and Rachel Way. It makes McNeely Street a through street with a stop at Abigail Lane. And I think that's it for this particular ordinance.
Brown introduced an ordinance to establish no parking areas on Abigail Lane, Jackie Court, Nicholas Lane, and Rachel Way. She presented a third amendment to the traffic schedule to set the maximum speed limit of those 4 roads at 20 miles per hour. Council members approved all 3 ordinances. The Bloomington Board of Public Works talked about road closures at its April 13th meeting. Goodman Construction requested the city close sections of North Walnut. Engineering field specialist Paul Kerberg explained where and when the closures would take place.
Goodman Construction Company is requesting to close 1 lane of North Walnut Street from 15th to 17th Streets. This is to make the water and sewer connection for a new building that they're building at 1117 North Walnut Street. They will keep 1 lane of Walnut open at all times. They need to cross the entire street, and they'll do it in phases. The lane closures will be from April 26th to April 30th, 2021. And then for the alley closure, this will be the east-west alley immediately adjacent to their project. That closure will take place from April 19th to April 30th, 2021.
Councilmember Beth Hollingsworth said that the construction neighbored the Bloomington Center for Global Children. She asked if special signage would be used. Kerberg said there is no special signage, but that signage would be present. The board voted in favor of the motion. And we will have more Cats Week after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
There for me, every day. Believing in me.
Showing me what's possible.
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body.
to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
To be a leader.
to finish school,
To own my future.
To break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner. With you in my corner,
I will not be another statistic.
I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Welcome back to Cats Week. The Monroe County Council discussed creating an additional job in county government. At the April 13th meeting, Administrator Angie Purdy suggested a new public information coordinator position. She explained the position would facilitate communication between Monroe County government and the community.
Kind of want to have a discussion about the addition of a public information coordinator position. During independent conversations with both council and commissioners, it's been clear that there is a need for somebody who can speak out to our community for you guys, and also serve as a data source for our for Monroe County government. They would act as a point of communication for our community, for media, and they would also help in the preparation of social media communications and press releases specific to civil government. This would be primarily for council, commissioners, our boards and commissions, our planning department.
Council member Jeff McKim identified public works as an area where Monroe County government does not share enough information. He asked if this position would include public works and highways. Purdy said it would. Council member Marty Hawk inquired how the position would represent the council if they disagreed on a motion.
I know right now it's pretty much everything's one party, and so maybe you'll all get together and agree on what this person should be presenting to the public. We got to remember, we're a great deal different from the city, because the city person who comes out to speak in favor, whatever the city wants to say, they're acting directly under the mayor. But we're set up so differently. So what would happen if you had commissioners who wanted to go one direction, and you had council members, or at least part of the council member, wanting to do something different? I'm not saying that's what's happening now, but when we do something, we always have to think about what could it be 10 years from now, or whatever. And I guess you could make an adjustment at that time. But I do think you have to recognize that many times the county council might want to put out information to the public, or have a discussion with the public that might be not exactly how the commissioners would want to present it. So,
Councilmember Trent Deckard spoke about the importance of communication departments. He shared concerns that the job may be too big for just one person.
Communication departments are often the last thing to come into an organization, but be one of the most necessary. And when I look at this just initial discussion as being a data source for Monroe County government, act as a point of communication for the community and the media, and help in the prep of social media communications and press releases for civil government, that any number of those big three that were cited could be a job alone.
The council unanimously supported the position. The official role will be drafted at a future Personnel Administration Committee meeting. The Bloomington Commission on Sustainability discussed whether or not they would support energy innovation and carbon dividend legislation. Commissioner Joseph Winia shared his issues with the legislation at the April 13th meeting.
I can open by saying that I, for one, am uninterested in endorsing that piece of legislation as it is written. There are several aspects to it that I find insufficient or misdirected in terms of a national approach to reducing climate impact, particularly the distribution of the funds to citizens in a general fund, rather than a direction towards promoting or subsidizing alternatives, like going directly to green energy methods or climate impact production, because the seeming intent of the legislation is to promote economic growth in a general way and not in a sustainable way. And quite honestly, consumerism itself is inherently unsustainable, and I don't find the direction of the carbon fees to the general fund to be a good use of that revenue.
Winia suggested the commission send a letter explaining ways the legislation could be improved. Commissioner Alicia Hardy wondered if the commission could offer support for other upcoming legislation.
The only other thought I had was there are several pieces of climate legislation that are they're in the queue, like they haven't even got to them yet. So I'm wondering if there's value in us, maybe me, going through and making up a list of all the legislation that's kind of in the queue, and then maybe we can decide which ones we feel better about endorsing.
Commissioner Nolan Hendon clarified that the requested endorsement would be for general support of the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. The commission voted against supporting the bill 0-7 with 2 members abstaining. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to Cats Week. Members of the Bloomington Arts Commission discussed the city's 2021 spring grant for the arts during their April 14th meeting. The Arts Commission is seeking applications for arts and culture organizations in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Commission member Essence London said she's looking for more diverse candidates to apply for the grant.
I was really hoping to see more applicants, different applicants, diverse applicants, whether it's the art form that they are hoping their project surrounds, or the communities that the projects are coming from, etc. So any new organizations or artists that you want to reach out to, we have a contact list for that. Please do add names here.
Applications for the grant are due Friday, April 30th at 5 p.m. A workshop for applicants will be held at noon on April 16th via Zoom. Arts Commission members also talked about the painting of a second Black Lives Matter street mural on 6th Street near the Courthouse Square. Assistant Director for the Arts, Sean Starowitz, said volunteers will paint the mural on Saturday, April 17th.
With the BLM mural, there's a volunteer sign-up list that's required by the health department. So if you want to be involved in that, I can send out that link. I'll try to find that for you all and send it out. If you want to come earlier to help out with chalking or any of that stuff, since you are part of the commission, you're more than welcome to. I just need to know that ahead of time, just in case for COVID tracing concerns. But
what time would that be?
We're going to be starting at I would say safely around 8:30 a.m. And the goal is to have it all chalked out by noon, like we did last time. This one is going to be a little more staggered, we believe, just because there's a couple things we have to design around.
In case of rain, a backup day for painting is reserved for May 1st. The next Arts Commission meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 12th. The Bloomington City Council Committee of the Whole discussed 8 of 10 zoning ordinances recommended by the Plan Commission last week. Development Manager Jackie Scanlon presented an ordinance that would change what projects would be brought before the Plan Commission. She said raising the minimum unit threshold from 30 to 50 helps bring more by right projects in front of the public.
So it was discussed in the public hearings when we did this in 2019 and 2020. The
the reason that they were written this way, some agreed and some didn't, was just for more public exposure of projects so that people could see what was being done and have them be publicly vetted, not so that they could be publicly denied.
Councilmember Steve Volan pointed out that the Plan Commission cannot deny by right projects, and Councilmember Dave Rollo suggested that a public hearing could encourage builders to make changes.
But isn't it true, too, that the public hearing, even if what is proposed is by right, that there might be information that comes from the public that might lead to a better outcome? So, for instance, I could think of a development that might have, air HVAC units or something like that, that may, if the public were to come to a meeting, express their concern about noise or some, visual impairment that, it might result in a berm or a tree buffer or fencing and so forth. So, and that might influence the outcome. Because the developer may well decide that it's good to be a good neighbor, and because this is a public hearing, it allows that sort of interaction.
The Committee of the Whole made do-pass recommendations on all 8 ordinances. The City Council will continue discussion on the ordinances at their April 21st session. The Monroe County Commissioners discussed an amendment to personnel policy at their April 14th meeting. County Attorney Jeff Cockerell presented the amendment, which would allow county employees to receive benefit time while attending the funeral of another county worker.
This will amend our personnel policy so that if an employee or a volunteer who is actively still employed or volunteering with the county dies, that employees of the county can go to their calling and funeral on the clock.
Cockerell said the change will take place retroactively starting April 1st. Commissioner Julie Thomas recognized that this was omitted from county policy. The commissioners unanimously supported the amendment. And that is all for Cats Week. Thank you for joining us. For Cats and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.
uh,